He was a cop, a tough, respected one. Everyone in town knew him. Kids saluted him. Adults thanked him. And me, I was proud, so proud. He taught me how to shoot a basketball, how to ride a bike, and how to treat people with respect. But everything changed one night. The night he saved me from a robbery. And I found out who he really was. It was a regular Friday night. I worked the late shift at a small convenience store down the street. Just me. The flickering fluorescent lights and a cheap radio playing old songs. Nothing ever happened there. Until that night. At around 11:45 p.m., a man in a hoodie walked in. He didn't buy anything. Didn't even look at the snacks. He walked straight to the counter. Pulled out a gun. Open the register, he growled. My hands trembled. I'd never seen a real gun before, let alone one pointed at my face. I don't have the keys, I stammered. He didn't care. He slammed his hand on the counter and yelled louder. That's when the bell on the door rang again, and my dad walked in. He didn't hesitate. He tackled the guy in one swift motion, sending the gun skidding across the floor. They struggled, fought. I called the police in a panic. But by the time backup arrived, it was over. The guy was face down on the floor, bloodied and groaning. My dad stood over him, breathing hard. He looked at me and said one word. Safe. The police hailed him as a hero. Local newspapers wrote about it. The mayor called him a symbol of courage. I couldn't stop smiling. But then, strange things started happening. The next morning, I heard hushed voices coming from the living room. It was my dad on the phone. No, they can't know, not yet, he whispered. I froze. Do what you have to do, burn the files. Burn the files? I leaned closer, but the conversation ended. My dad glanced around and hung up. When he noticed me, he tensed. Eavesdropping, son. I stuttered. No, just came to get water. He stared at me for a second, then nodded. Go back to bed. That day, I searched his office. I wasn't proud of it, but something didn't feel right. In his locked drawer, I found a flash drive. It was unlabeled, just tucked beneath old papers and photos. I plugged it into my laptop. There were videos, dozens of them. Some were surveillance footage, but some were horrifying. I watched one. It showed my dad in uniform meeting with a man in a dark alley. They exchanged something. Then the man handed him cash. My stomach dropped. Another video showed him interrogating a suspect, but it wasn't an interrogation. It was a beating, a violent, uncontrolled one. I had no idea who this man was. He looked like my dad, but this version was brutal, ruthless, scary. I shut the laptop and sat in silence. What had I just discovered? I didn't confront him, not yet. But I started watching him closer. He took calls at odd hours, left the house without explanation, met shady-looking men in parking lots. One day I followed him. He drove to an old storage unit outside town. I waited. He entered, stayed in sight for 15 minutes, then left. When he was gone, I snuck in. What I found chilled me to the bone. Inside were boxes, files, photos, cash. One box was labeled Internal Affairs. Another, Witness Intimidation. And in the corner, a duffel bag full of weapons. I grabbed one file and took photos of everything. Then I ran. I didn't know what to do. He was my dad, my hero. But he was also hiding something huge. I confronted my mom. At first, she denied it, said I was imagining things. But then she broke down. I didn't know it would get this far, she whispered. When we met, he was different. What do you mean? He wasn't always a cop, not legally. What? She looked away. He used a fake identity to get into the academy. He was running from something. I couldn't breathe. From what? She hesitated. The FBI. I left the house. I couldn't process it. I had proof that my father was dirty, that he wasn't even who he said he was. But I also remembered the way he'd saved me, risked his life. Was that fake too? Or was there still a part of him, the good part, that was real? I contacted the real police, the honest ones. I gave them the files, the photos, the flash drive. They launched an investigation. And a week later, my dad was arrested. The headline read, "Decorated officer exposed as fugitive crime ringleader." He didn't resist. He didn't even flinch when they cuffed him. When he saw me watching, he just nodded, like he knew this day would come. That night, I couldn't sleep. Everything I knew my whole childhood felt like a lie. But there was one thing I couldn't deny. He still saved me. That night at the store. Maybe, in some twisted way, he was trying to protect me from becoming like him. Sometimes the people we trust most hide the darkest secrets. My dad was a criminal, a liar, a man who betrayed the badge. But he was also my father. He taught me lessons, both good and bad. And in the end, I learned something far more powerful than what he ever said. You can love someone and still hold them accountable. You can admire their strength but reject their choices. I won't follow in his footsteps, but I also won't erase what he did right. Because truth matters even when it hurts. They gave me a choice. Testify against my dad or risk being seen as his accomplice. I was 18, barely an adult. But now the justice system expected me to take down the man who raised me, the man who saved my life. I sat in the courtroom. The air was thick, silent, heavy. And then they brought him in. Orange jumpsuit, shackles on his wrist. But still he looked straight at me. Not angry, not sad, just accepting. Like he knew I had to do this. They called me to the stand. State your name for the record. My voice cracked. Liam Carter. Relationship to the defendant? He's my father. A few people gasped. Huh? I swallowed. And then I told the truth. Everything. The videos, the secret storage unit, the money, the meeting, and the night he saved me from the robbery. I told them how I once saw him as a hero and how that image shattered. Tears burned my eyes, but I didn't stop. I owed it to every person he'd hurt. After my testimony, I walked out. Couldn't even look back. But then someone stopped me. A woman in a black coat. She handed me a folder. No return address. He wanted you to have this in case. Inside was a letter in my dad's handwriting and a photo of a little girl. Her name is Maya, the letter read. She's your sister. I froze. His sister? He continued. She's 6 years old. Lives with a woman named Karina. She was part of my past before the uniform. Before you. My hands shook. She doesn't know about me. Keep it that way, but protect her, please. I didn't know what to do. Was this real? Another secret? I searched the name. And sure enough, there she was. Maya. Little girl with my dad's eyes. She lived in another city with a woman who used to work with him. In crime. I traveled there. I needed answers. When I found Karina, she was shocked. You're Liam? I nodded. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. They're watching. Who? The same people your dad crossed. He tried to leave them. That's why he became a cop. What are you talking about? He wasn't just running from the FBI. She leaned in. He was running from the cartel. Everything went numb. My dad wasn't just a corrupt cop. He had been part of something much bigger. He thought being a cop would protect him, Karina said. And it did. For a while. She looked at Maya. But now that he's exposed, they're coming. For all of us. I had to get her out. That night, I snuck Karina and Maya into my car and drove across the state. I didn't sleep. I watched every car behind me. I knew what these people were capable of. But I was too late. 2 black SUVs were waiting at the motel. I grabbed Maya and ran. Gunshots echoed. Karina screamed. I hid behind a dumpster, clutching Maya tight. Then I saw him, one of the gunmen. And he saw me. He aimed. And then a shot rang out. Not from him. From behind. The gunman fell. And standing there was an older man in a baseball cap. It was my grandfather, my dad's dad. I'd never met him before. He took me and Maya to a safe house. I've been watching ever since he went dark, he said. Your dad wasn't perfect, but when he found out about you, he tried to build a better life. I asked him, why didn't you stop him? He sighed. Because he was already too deep. The best I could do was protect you. The next day, I got another letter. From prison. It was from my dad. I knew you'd find her, it said. I knew they'd come. But listen carefully. There's one file left. One that can stop them all. He gave me a location, a locker number, a code. I didn't tell the police. I went alone. The locker was deep underground. Old, dusty, hidden. Inside, one hard drive. I plugged it into my laptop later. And what I saw was the blueprint of the entire operation. Names, routes, bribes, evidence of murder. It was a death sentence to anyone involved. And my dad had kept it hidden. I had a choice. Give it to the FBI and expose everything which might get us all killed. Or destroy it and disappear forever. I stared at the screen for hours. Then I did the only thing I knew was right. I uploaded it to 5 different cloud servers and sent it anonymously to every major news outlet in the country. The storm that followed was massive. Arrests, resignations, dirty cops, politicians, even FBI agents were caught in the web. And my dad, they moved him into protective custody. He might never leave prison, but he saved us. Again. I lost a lot. My innocence, my sense of safety, even my relationship with the man I once called a hero. But I found something stronger. Truth. Even when it's buried under lies. Even when it comes with danger. And even when it comes from the last person you'd expect. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive him. But I know this. I broke the cycle. I made the right choice. And maybe that's what he always wanted. Oh.